In 2019, the largest marijuana company in the world, Canopy Growth, which is headquartered in Canada, announced its desire to purchase an American marijuana startup called Acreage Holdings when it became federally permissible to do so. The price discussed valued Acreage at $3.4 billion, which was almost double the value of Acreage at the time. The talking heads then worked quick with the praise.
Coming in, but what do you do with this? You buy up any name that you know.
sold Kronos, though, right?
So I sold it, but what did I say the other night? That these things are starting to look attractive. They sold off aggressively, and unfortunately, I missed it by about a day. So I think that you're still going to have time because a lot of these names still were read today. So I think you should be a buyer of any name that you know in the cannabis.
Bruce mentioned it.
I think we're going to look back at this deal and say this was the moment that the mergers and acquisitions and the consolidation of the space, particularly in the U.S., started to take off. So I think you've got a huge runway here to just allocate to this space.
I'm glad I didn't take action on that call. The stock went from 22.5 down to 7 and change. The entire sector has gotten cheaper for 3 reasons. 1, the federal government is not any closer to ratifying the STATES Act, which would federally recognize the legalization of marijuana in the states that have legalized it. 2, the lack of movement of the STATES Act continues to hurt the marijuana industry because the banking system is reluctant to lend to marijuana companies. These companies are funded privately, and many have incurred huge debts, acquiring smaller entities and expanding production. 3, most marijuana companies have discovered it's harder to make money than they had thought. Repeatedly, the majority continue to lower the revenue guidance and simply cannot show a profit. The lack of federally permissibility, high debts, and inability to generate earnings have devastated the industry. Acreage Holdings, which was valued at $1.77 billion in April 2019, has dropped to $639 million. That is a decline of $1.1 billion, or 62%. An exchange-traded fund of marijuana companies, MJ, as in Mary Jane, is down 38% from its highs. Despite all this bad news, only one marijuana company is consistently making money. However, because most of the others are still losing money, investors have sold the sector to what seems to be basement prices. In Wall Street terms, they've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Eventually, the sector will regain investor interest. It could be further legalization in different states, but the ratification of the STATES Act really ought to re-energize this sector. Some speculate it could come as a Christmas present this December, but no one really knows. Congress has trouble deciding what to do. President Trump, meanwhile, has indicated his willingness to sign the bill into law. So I think it's not a question of if, but when. At Armada Advisors, we think profitability and replication of a business model will reward only the best marijuana companies over the next 5 years. If you want to consider investing in this space, give us a call at Armada Advisors, where we are charting a better course.